Today, we're going to be looking at those waiver wire running backs going into week 5. We're going to be looking at those top backs that everybody's looking at. We're going to be looking at the other backs for those deeper leagues. And we're going to go over the advanced metrics so you can make your decision on which running back you want. But before we dig in, you need to click that subscribe button right now because we're talking about the waiver wire every day throughout the week. And then we're going to use these videos to help you set your lineups. And we deep dive multiple players a day so you can get that advanced analytics, the information, and whatever else you need to make the sound decisions on those players. Click that button. Stop missing out. But the first running back is Kareem Hunt. And he's back. He's back. He's getting touches. He's usurping the backfield. And that's what last week said. That is what it said. He was signed to the 53 early in the week. Has been with the team for a week. Got signed back up to the 53 and played his first game. Got 14 touches, 69 yards, 3 targets in this matchup, and 63% opportunity share. That's really enough to say, hey, I want part of this Chiefs backfield. I just want part of this Chiefs backfield. I'm just picking dudes. You're just picking dudes. And he's another dude to get out of this backfield. I'm not expecting 2017 Kareem Hunt here. I'm expecting what we saw from the Cleveland Browns, some RB2 games here and there. Maybe if he gets some red zone looks, maybe he crosses the goal line. But I'm expecting a running back getting touches in the Chiefs offense that could allow him to score fantasy production for me. And that's what I'm looking at here. And Kareem Hunt's doing that right now. I'm not expecting anything over the moon. I'm not expecting him to just be Jonathan Taylor or anything great back there. I'm expecting him to get touches. I'm expecting him to move the rock. And I'm expecting him to get fantasy points. I'm expecting him to share the backfield a little bit with the other backs. I would not be surprised if this becomes a carousel effect out of the backfield. Trey Sermon is a guy a lot of people are looking at. Trey Sermon's going to be an interesting play for you guys in fantasy football because if Jonathan Taylor, mild high ankle sprain, is out for a bit, you're going to be looking at Trey Sermon. 5 rushing attempts, 8 yards, 1.6 yards per carry against the Steelers. That's a rough defense. Trey Sermon is a running back that is not overly electric. He has good balance and patience. The thing about him, though, is he's going to get volume if Jonathan Taylor's out. Or at least predicted volume that people are going to be looking at every week in every game that Jonathan Taylor's out, if he's out. That being said, you're just chasing touches here. Kind of like a Cam Akers, where if he gets 10, 12 touches in a game, you're just praying one crosses the goal line, or he gets a gaping hole or something like that. But also, like Cam Akers, may not happen. I'm going to look at it in those realms, just chasing the touches if I'm picking him up. If I'm picking him up. I may not be picking him up, but if you're looking at Trey Sermon, he's a running back that you're chasing touches with. Tank Bigsby had a 30.4 opportunity share, 90 rushing yards. He had that run up the gut that went for like 54 yards. That run up the gut was a gaping hole up the middle, and it was free up the middle once he got to the second level. So most of his yards came off that run. He also had like a 24-yard run in, I think, middle of the game around second quarter-ish. It looked good. He's good when he gets his opportunity, when things break right for him. 7 rushing attempts, 30.4% opportunity share. He's a good guy to have on the back end of your roster. He's a running back that's going to be tough to want to start every week when he produces in the fantasy stat line, which hasn't been yet. It hasn't. He gets declared as a waiver wire get off and on because there's just weeks where he'll get touches and a little bit of production like he's the next guy. But sometimes things just break his way, and he's able to take advantage of those opportunities. He's just good at taking advantage of those opportunities. That's the good thing about Tank Bigsby. And he got that long run. That helped him out a lot. Had another big run. The rest of them were just 1-yarders, 0-yarders around the line of scrimmage. Tank got 7 rushing attempts. I look for him to get this type of workload going forward unless something happens to Travis Etienne. Rico Dowdle, 11 rushing attempts in that matchup against the Giants. 1 target, 9 routes ran, and 48% opportunity share. He's getting work in his backfield. He's still sharing work, but he's getting opportunity, and it's just inching a little bit more each week. He might be a back you're looking at. He's at least going to get you similar workload each week, probably about 8, 9, 10, 11 rushing attempts a week. A couple routes ran, like a handful of them, and maybe a target to 3 targets a game. Something to look at there. previously it was back-to-back games with 5 targets. So that might be something you want. He's a safe back. He's not overly electric. But we are going to have some games where he starts crossing the goal line in the run game because he's due for that with how many carries he's getting. That's also something to note. And also the Dallas offense is going to start getting in those opportunities to where these running backs can score on the ground. Roschon Johnson. It was the DeAndre Swift game. DeAndre Swift is rostered. He should be. So I'm looking at him as a rostered player, but he might have been cut in your league and you may want to pick him up. But he got 7 rushing attempts in this game, no targets. The week prior, though, he saw 5 targets. He also didn't run any routes in this matchup. The week before, he ran a lot of routes. Last season, he ran a lot of routes. They're figuring out what to do with them. Swift was going off. Swift is more electric than Roschon Johnson. He's got more speed. He's got more pop. But he still saw a 23.3% opportunity share. Saw a good opportunity share the week prior. And the work's mounting up. He's been back in the last 2 games. Seeing the field. Not the most efficient back. I look for him to be something like last year. Just a running back you're plugging off and on off waivers. Hoping that the touches that game roll his way. And maybe he crosses the goal line. Tyler Allgeier is an underrated handcuff running back. He's been in the waiver wire videos all year long. And the thing is, last week he saw a 47.6% opportunity share. 8 carries, 1 more than Bijan, ran 12 routes. I think the most routes he's ran in a game all season. He's the cuff to Bijan, but he's also getting a lot of work. He's almost like a handcuff plus because he's also getting work, which could accidentally get you fantasy points here and there. And if something happens to Bijan, he's getting all the work. That's just what's happening. He's going to get all the work. He's going to be the dude. Everybody's going to run to him off waivers, try to pick him up. You may want to be a week early just in case that happens. I look for him to be one of the better handcuffs in the league because I know the work's going to go his way. And they're saying that with how many touches he's getting. He's also running a few more routes. He's almost getting 10 opportunities a game, which is very good for a backup running back. And when a backup running back's getting double-digit opportunities a game, that means when their time comes, they're going to get a lot of opportunities. Tyler Allgeier is an underrated backup running back. Braelon Allen, same thing every week. Very talented handcuff running back. This was a game script that went all kinds of wrong. The Broncos won in a baseball score-like game. A very slow game. There was not much opportunity with the game script. Still scored 9.1 PPR fantasy points, a 37.5% opportunity share, which is very solid. For an RB backup back to Breece Hall, 8 rushing attempts. He's getting almost double-digit opportunities per game. He's getting used in the passing game. 13 routes ran, a 25.5 route participation rate. That's with Breece Hall there and with all the other wide receivers. Braelon Allen is just a back to have stashed. And if something happens to Breece Hall, you're going to wish you had him stashed. That's the thing about that. If something happens to Breece Hall, he's getting all the work. And it's going to be a lot of work. It could still be shared because this is one of the deepest, most talented backfields in the NFL. But still, Braelon Allen is a very talented running back prospect. Tyrone Tracy is getting a little bit more work each week. These last 2 games, he's gotten a little bit more work. A 22.7% opportunity share. Ran 9 routes. That's with Singletary back there. That's with a weird game script. Still getting opportunities, still getting workload. We liked him out of Purdue as a deep target in rookie drafts. He's still a deep target, especially on the waiver wire, but he does have some pop in the step. Could be a player you're fighting for off the waiver wire if something happens to Singletary. Trey Benson's just a stash. He got touches and mop-up time, but he's got that 4.3 speed. If something happens to James Conner, you're going to want him. But if nothing happens to James Conner, you're not going to want him. Keaton Mitchell is not back, but he could be back a month, 2 months from now, next year. We don't know. His 4 weeks is about up for the pup, but we got to see if he's practicing soon. But we're trying to be early. And if you have an IR spot and he's sitting right there on waivers, and you got moves you can make to get him over there, you might want to do that. That's a free stash play just in case. And those free chips, even if they score 0 fantasy points, he's on your IR spot for free. If you got to move him out for another IR player, you just cut him from there and move the IR player over. Keaton Mitchell can give you that upside. He's the Will Fuller of running backs. He's the Rashid Shaheed of running backs. That's his profile. That's what we like about him, is because at any given touch, he can score you 20 fantasy points. He just needs like 3 carries in a game. That's his profile. So even with Derrick Henry there, that's all he needs. Even with Justice Hill looking good, that's all he needs. But we're also looking at Justice Hill. I like Justice Hill. I don't hate Justice Hill. I don't really love or hate any players, honestly. I'm getting emotionally numb to this game. And Justice Hill's getting work in the passing game. It's very game script dependent with him. And there's just games where he's getting a lot of targets and games where he's just getting a handful of targets. But those games where he's getting work in the passing game, it matters. That's where he's scoring the most. Scored 10 points against the Chiefs, 21 this week against the Bills. He's a guy to pick up. He's getting an opportunity. He's in on a lot of snaps. Something happens to Derrick Henry, you know he's going to get a lot of work. Manny Wilson is just a guy to look at. He looks good with the ball in his hands. He's getting an okay opportunity share for the backup. Marshawn Lloyd's still nursing the injury. And if something happens to Josh Jacobs, you're going to be fighting for him off waivers, so you may want to be early on him. Antonio Gibson is an underrated handcuff running back right now. He's been for the last 3 weeks, and he's getting opportunity. And the thing is, when the Patriots get in weird game scripts, they're throwing him the rock. He's running routes. He's electric in space for his size. And the fact is, if something happens to Ramondre Stevenson, he's going to be getting like 20 opportunities a game. Working the passing game, a lot of work up the gut. And that being said, that's the reason why you need to be looking at Antonio Gibson as a clear-cut handcuff running back to look at if you got space for that. If not, keep him on your radar. Alexander Mattison, I'm not in on the Raiders' backfield. Just because they're on the list doesn't mean I'm in on them. I'm not throwing you guys because I think you have to have them. I'm just throwing you ideas. You pick out what you want. But I'm not in on the Raiders' backfield. He is running a fair amount of routes a game. He's getting a handful of opportunities a game. And Zamir White hasn't been looking good. Alexander Mattison might be the play for you. Chase Brown, just in case he got dropped over the last few weeks, he shouldn't have been because he flashes, he's got speed, and you're waiting for this moment, and this moment happens, so you might be looking to pick him up. He's in a good offense. He's explosive. He might be getting used more down the line in the season. It's Jeremy McNichols. I'm not over the moon here, but he is a guy that you may want to look at with Austin Eckler out because he is getting some ancillary touches in this offense. And Jaden Daniels is looking good. He's able to move the chains. They're going to be needing 2 running backs because they're moving the chains more. They're running more plays on offense. Jeremy McNichols, if Austin Eckler's out, is going to be getting touches and could score a few touchdowns. He is also an okay veteran running back. He's been in the league for 7 years. Good out of college. A guy that can be dependable with enough workload. And then Clyde Edwards-Helaire could be back sooner than later. He could be back anytime. You may want to have him stashed sooner than later, or maybe just pay attention to his news just in case he comes back, because this backfield right now is looking like a mess. I mean, it's Kareem Hunt, for God's sake, and now we're looking at Miles Sanders. He's a deep play, only for deep leagues. I would not be looking at him for traditional redraft. It's still the Chuba show. It's not him usurping, but he is getting touches every week. 5 carries at least per game, and he's getting targets in every game. He's pushing about 10 opportunities a game, and on the field, when you watch him, he has a little pop in his step. He's always had that. It's more like he lacks the vision, he lacks the patience, he lacks the ability to always find that hole consistently, and that prevents him from being a good running back in the NFL, but he has the athletic intangibles, and Canales wants to use him. He's been saying this all along, and he keeps trying to ram that square peg in the round hole, and we're seeing that with Miles Sanders. Not saying he's good, but we're saying there's touches here, and also if something happens to Chuba, he's going to be ran to death. Ty Chandler here is a running back to always look at. 4.3 speed. Aaron Jones was hurt and banged up a lot last year, so if that happens, you're going to want Ty Chandler. Plus, this offense has a lot of upside to it. Ray Davis, the cup to James Cook. James Cook's getting a lot of touches, a lot of workload this season. Ray Davis, when he's on the field, is looking good. He scored some touchdowns, and he's a guy to always have as a handcuff. Isaac Guerendo is one of my favorite handcuffs, but when Christian McCaffrey comes back, you're going to want to drop him because he'll be like the 3rd man down on the depth chart. But right now, if something happens to Jordan Mason, you're going to be fighting for him off the waiver wire. Those are the running back plays that we're looking at off the waiver wire this week. We're looking at the top of the waiver wire. We're looking at the bottom. We're looking all around it, hoping that we can find something for you. Look at the advanced analytics. Look at their game scripts. Look at their situations. See what fits your team the best, and then pick that player up. Let me know what you think or who you're picking up in the comments below. I want to hear about it. Make sure you hit that subscribe button on the way out. One thing for watching. Catch you on the next video.